All right, well, I guess today we'll just kind of walk around and go over where the isolation valves are for the plumbing and heating systems. The heating system's pretty simple, not a whole lot that can go terribly wrong with it. So there's really not much to see here, so I guess we'll just get up and walk around. Heating system goes, steam is still like the main heating source, because we got two heat exchangers downstairs, which is converting your glycol hydronic system. You know, that's what's heating the hydronic water, and two heat exchangers downstairs. So basically, instead of having like the steam radiator panels, you have hydronic panels now, which are still, still the main source of heat is steam, but to heat up the loop.
Thermostats in the rooms.
Thermostats in the rooms. Each radiant panel has its own thermostat.
That's just specific to the lobby area here, or?
The lobby is pretty much all fed off of forced air now, which is still ran off my hydronic heat as well, which have their own thermostats and whatnot. But you won't see any of the actual radiant registers like you will in some of the offices and other rooms.
Radiant?
Radiant's
Where do we have radiant heat?
The radiant heat panels there's one in the ski shop, there's two in the offices downstairs behind the reception desk in the manager's office, stairwell, one in the janitor's closet down there on the main floor, and one in the beer cooler room.
So then the lobby, the gift shop, the map room up here are all hydronic?
It's still hydronic, yeah, but it goes through HRV and then, yeah.
So it's air.
Yeah, air.
So it's air, so you gotta have a fan running for those to work. Goes through coils.
Yeah, it goes through the coils on the HRV unit, and then the air blows across the coils. And
Isn't that what's over here? The terrace?
The cooler.
The kitchen?
Well, it's got steam.
Blows through coils,
Yeah.
but a little different, okay.
So are these sized for future use, like the wing is going to be?
yeah, you have two 4-inch lines just looped together down there at the end of the tunnel where phase 2 is going to tie onto.
Okay.
And eventually all that steam radiators will go away too, under my understanding.
Yeah, that's what
I haven't seen an official drawing for phase 2, but we're going to tie on to those 4-inch mains and run them down the hotel wing, is what my understanding is.
Steam or air?
No, those are still the hydronic lines, the main 4-inch hydronic.
Gradient,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so you have radiant, air, are the two types.
Yeah,
We used to have radiant that was driven by
Steam, yes,
Now
correct.
we have radiant driven by hydronic.
Yes.
the rooms will be radiant heaters, like,
I have not seen plans for
Yeah,
phase 2, so I don't know what they got
that's
going
what
on.
it sounds like.
All right, so basically it's just a common bathroom, I guess. Lab faucets are pretty simple. They are kind of a pain in the butt. I had a hard time threading them on. I don't know what's going on. At the Kohler rep, come out and take a look at them. So waiting to hear back on that, because some of the handles are getting kind of hard to turn. So waiting to hear back on the Kohler rep with that. And the other question was, we had a little punch list about the flushometers taking a little longer than some others to flush. Well, I talked to the Kohler reps, or the Kohler service department direct, and they said there is no field adjustment on those. They're all factory adjusted. So it kind of is what it is, according to them. Like, as long as it flushes, I mean, it should always flush. It's just some are taking a little bit longer than others to flush. Other than that, it's just pretty simple to take apart and service to get new parts in. They're pretty much just have.
These haven't been.
No, those diaphragm or the a piston type?
They're piston,
Okay.
piston driven, and there's just all set screws in the back. You know, the little Allen screws, and to get to here. So it's pretty simple. You know, it's not on the thing. Yes, they say the thing said they're like 30-year batteries though, some kind of lithium-ion batteries or something. So. But yeah, so they're piston driven, pretty easy to disassemble because we had to take a couple apart and clean some shavings out and everything.
You peel this off, there should be no movement for what, 2 minutes?
Oh no, you can peel it off right now and sit in front of it and it'll flush.
Okay, well, what I read is when you peel that off, there should be no movement for 2 minutes, then you stand in front of it. for 15 seconds, and then step away, it should activate.
Oh yeah, we've had them flushing all already.
Okay, so this is just painters, just done that?
And then they were having some issues also saying they weren't flushing. And I was just taking my shirt and wiping the sensor off real quick, and they flushed just fine.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the first thing I'd do if one's not flushing. Is I just take a cloth, wipe the sensor, then try it out and see if it flushes. All right, so basically the plug-in for this unit is located in this top access panel. The breaker must not be on right now because it's not working. So that's the plug-in if you ever have to service it. And they put this access panel in down here. That's where the shut-off valve is and the carbon filter.
And those are all screw-off type things?
What's that?
All the
Yeah,
access
they're just these are just 5/16 head screws up here, and then you just pull up. There's a little lip under on this bottom side that tucks underneath here. Then this, with this fancy wood trim, I couldn't put this underneath there too because you wouldn't access this. So they made this wood access panel. It's just some Phillips. Now you just pull that panel off, access the filter, the shut-off valve, and everything else.
Now, is that a common type filter or is it specific?
I'm pretty sure it's LK specific.
Downstairs one same,
Downstairs one didn't have a filter. That was just
okay.
had the access panel for the.
And it doesn't have a drinking fountain.
No, it's just the bottle fill. Yep. Okay, so basically, just an ordinary hand sink. Rather than having handles for a faucet, you just got your knee pedal. It's got a mixing valve, little mixing valve underneath there. That mixes the water to get you a pretty good temperature.
Do you know what temperature it's set at?
I don't. It doesn't have a gauge on
you
it.
just
It's
have
just the hot and cold goes into it. Yeah. Yep. And adjust it accordingly. So basically, for ease of changing the filter, instead of reaching down here and turning off the stop, they got this valve up here. Just turn it off. Then you can drain down your pressure out of this valve to get the pressure off for changing out the cartridge. You got one for the ice machine and one for espresso or coffee maker, something that sits on this thing here. The sink's pretty cut and dry, hot and cold. All right, so these are your two basic heat exchangers. The steam enters here, and for labeling, we got 3 lines going in, one to handle a third of the load, one to handle 2/3 of the load, and the very top one is the bypass, in case your modulating steam valves fail. So basically, this is your hot water return or your heating water return line coming in the top of the heat exchanger, going through the coils, a bunch of copper coils inside the heat exchanger that the glycol runs through, gets heated up, gets sucked out by the pumps.
One exchanger is sized to run everything.
I'm not sure how they size that. I think the main reason I had 2 is one for this section, then one for when the hotel gets up and running. They'll have plenty of capacity.
So right now, though, you only have one. And we energized a circuit.
I don't know what Johnson Controls has energized right now. That's all in their programming. So basically, it'll come up through your air separator, getting sucked through your pumps, and then out and down in your crawl space with branch lines. There is an air vent on top, yes. Glycol feeder, I believe the Snowcrest, the chemical guy, programmed that to kick on at 13 psi, like when it gets down to 13 pounds, then kick off at 18.
Okay. And our operating pressure here is?
It's about 18, 16, 17.
Okay.
Domestic supply come in beside, you show where the hot water return comes in, is there a domestic supply?
This is your new cold water
Okay.
coming in. My water meter, PRV, backflow preventer, and comes up and feeds
Mixes in.
just the new part of the building. This isn't tied into the hotel yet, this cold water.
Okay. There's a backflow preventer on it.
Yep, backflow preventer, air gap, all that other jazz there. And then your recirc and your hot are tied into the tunnel. And then we demoed all that stuff out going to the hotel and tied on to the hotel with the hot and the recirc line. This is your duplex pump system. Your 2 floor sinks in here. All just drain into this tank here for whatever. Then it'll just get pumped up and out into your sanitary sewer. So there's 2 pumps down there. Yep. The only thing is just these 2 floor sinks in here. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It would assist in a catastrophic breakdown.
Yeah, you know, if you get like a 100-year flood or something, the whole basement floods, this thing will, it might save your bacon. This recirc line is going up to 2nd floor.
Second floor?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Oh, yeah, that one's going up to 2nd floor. This recirc line here is what's going up and running through your tunnels, these 3 lines here.
okay.
And then these 3 lines are going up through that chase by the ski shack. Or in the ski shack, that little chase that they built. To go up and feed 2nd floor.
So all 4 floors of the guest room's hot water recirc, is it there?
Is in this hot water recirc line here. This is the hot water, this is the main hot water recirc line. Yeah, they come up and then go through the wall into the crawl space.
So what is this one?
These 3 here, these 3 go up in that chase next to the ski shop and go up in the attic, the floor
For the
space
new
between 1st and
conference
2nd
space.
for like the bathrooms upstairs and the pantry.
Conference. Gotcha.
Can I be confused for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why are we tied into the hotel recirc line?
Because that's what was drawn on the plans.
Because we're still getting hot water from the boiler room for the wing. The hot water's coming from,
Yeah.
but the hot water for this is coming from here, or not? Are we getting?
No, that's coming from your boiler room, your mechanical
so
room.
domestic hot water is still coming there.
Yes, yes, your domestic hot water is.
Totally heat.
Yeah, the heat exchangers is strictly heat only, heating only.
Yeah, hot water is still, for the old and the new, is
Coming
from
from
our
the boiler
boiler, where it always
Okay.
did. He just tied into that line.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tied in the recirc to the same line for this hot water.
Simple explanation.
Okay, I think we're good now. So basically, off of my heating mains, I have, off my branch lines, right off of the mains, I have isolation valves right away. So if you ever have to work on a unit, and they are labeled, you know, so if you ever have to work on a unit, just follow the main and kind of look for the valves. They're kind of hard to see now because they're on, but they are on there because that's how I tested the mains before I ran my branch lines, and that's how I shut off my mains.
So each one has a.
Each radiant heater and each fan coil unit have isolation valves.
And it's on the return side or?
Well, return and supply.
And supply.
So that one's, the return's there, and then like the panel radiator heater's a little. Okay, there's the one coming off the return is right there.
Okay,
And
yeah,
that's the supply one right there.
gotcha.
And all the way down in the crawl space, you can see like right there, there's another set of valves that come up. That's a valve right there that shoots across to that radiant panel heater.
Okay.
Are we getting a test and balance report in our as?
I don't know if he came back and did the recirc line yet, because I know he was waiting for me to get the upstairs trimmed out.
Okay.
When he was here doing the original test and balance. So I'm thinking he still needs to come back and do the, well, I don't know, this one's set, so maybe he has. I'll look into that.
Okay.
And then basically your cold water mains are the same way.
Hey, Steve.
That's your flow design valve. That's the one that sets the flow, like your 5 gallons a minute.
So the valve would be in front of that?
Yeah, there's another valve,
Shut off.
shut-off valve there, and that would act as a shut-off valve. So there's basically 2 valves there, but. And then your domestic water is the same way. They weren't drawn in, but I went ahead and did you the favor of cutting in isolation valves for for all my branch lines. Just, well, for my sake, I saved my bacon a couple times on this job too. So
And is there, is it, since you're tying into the old system that still feeds the wing on the domestic, was it engineered, and are we gonna see a check and balance, test and balance
you should
report?
you should have a test and balance report. Like I say, I'll look into that with my office and see if they actually got one back or Swank or whatever.
And I guess the reason I'm asking that is the original system, I don't even know if there were circuit setters in there.
No,
Return and things
there
like that,
wasn't.
so to make
And there's
sure
none on
functions
your
together.
hotel wing either, which
Right,
might be a huge problem.
Right.
And what I was noticing is you have another recirc tied into your hotel recirc line down there. And there's a lot of back pressure because when I tried to tie onto that recirc line and take that cap off after I shut off the hotel valve, I still had a ton of pressure. And it was coming from, I think it said the accounting bathrooms or whatever, were tied into that too with no check valve, no circuit setter. So that might be part of where your heating problems is coming from. On the hotel side is because you got back pressure if no circuit setters, no nothing tied onto
That's
the...
what him are looking at right now.
Anytime you tie a new system into an old system that wasn't engineered, it's gonna be hard to,
Yeah, and I think the
Balance it
original
out.
recirc line, now we get the recirc out of the guest rooms and out of the new area, come here, go into the tunnel, and right now, I think, Bo, you got them headed it's all the way back to the intersection. of the
Yeah.
tunnel and put in. But I think we're gonna I think there was a change order or something to connect that closer here to take that 100 foot of pipe out of,
And I got to talking then with my boss, and he said that that's no different than the building. There's like 40 feet extra pipe. He's like, that's no different than the building being 40 feet. So that going down there shouldn't affect anything
I think
as
we're
far
just
as the
trying to get it
research.
shorter.
And that's understandable
Differential
too.
loss.
And that's very understandable too. But there's a line right in front of it, and then 3 lines stacked on top of it, and you just can't like move those out of the way. And it's galvanized. If it's copper, it'd be a little bit easier, but it's galvanized. You can't without tearing out
We're working on
everything.
a plan to put some balancing stuff down on that end because of what Bobby's describing.
Okay.
Because there is
Yeah.
back pressure and there shouldn't
okay,
be.
Yeah.
right, good.
This valve right here, you can see it's just barely cracked. That goes to your shell filling station. Otherwise, if it's fully open, it just sprays water everywhere. So I just wrote on their throttling valve for the shell station on that tag right there, that little 1/2-inch ball valve there.
Fancy water fountain.
Yeah,
It goes to what?
That fancy water.
that bottle
shell
fill.
water fountain, the
Oh.
historic water fountain. If that
Oh,
valve's
yeah, yeah.
open, it just sprays water
Yeah,
everywhere.
so right there I got that set where it just has a nice steady stream. Just says
Okay.
throttle valve for shell station. Oop. All right, so this is your radiant floor heat system for the vestibule out front. Basically, you shouldn't need to do any adjustment here. It's already been tested and balanced. You did get the reports back on the heating. I know that for a fact. So you're getting proper flow. But this is just where the heart of your vestibule heat is coming from, in slab heat. Just right here. So it's already been balanced, and
Is this manually turned on in the winter? Is it on the?
it's on. It's got its own control valve from Johnson Controls. So like when the temperature drops, it'll it'll
We don't have to
kick that
shut it
valve
down,
on.
Shut it down in the fall. and
You shouldn't have to, no.
There's a glycol concentration in this
Yes.
system.
Yep. I think it's 35%. So basically, this is where we dead-ended the hydronic heating system. When phase 2 starts up, this is where we'll tie on to. These valves here should never be touched because the test and balance guys came through and balanced the system and put these valves, throttled these valves where they need to be to get their balance throughout the whole system. So it's very important that these valves don't get moved, turned on, off, or anything for any reason. There should be no reason to, except for when it's time to phase 2 to start up and we take these off and run them down the hotel wing. I guess there is a...
There's an isolation valve for.
Yeah, those isolation valves are feeding this first fan coil unit straight across from it.
Okay.
And there's on that flow design valve back there,
Right.
that brass one, there's a tag saying what unit it's,
Okay.
what unit it's feeding.
Okay.
And then that's your differential pressure. That's all Johnson Controls stuff there. That's 2 copper lines running
Right.
across. That's your differential pressure switch.